We're gonna have to come tonight and check. Signs. Disguise as a sign for him.
It looks like a sign. It looks good. It looks, I'm okay with that. No roofs.
I just wanted to know I was paying attention and covering it.
I appreciate that.
I hope you did.
Lori, do we have an extra computer here? Is it?
Oh, okay. How you doing?
We're doing.
Feel like your battery's going down, there you go.
Is your battery going down? Is this personal or is it for computer?
This is, yeah, well, personally, I'm going down fast. Oh, web meeting, I don't need that. Determine plan commission. Whoa, don't do that while I'm. Commission, here we are. Hey, it's not $7. Show you now. Excuse me, you have some lint on your shoulder? I'm
See, where's the deal with that?
watching. They were trying to point it out.
Spotlight on here, Tony.
Should I tell a joke or?
But you zoomed in on his shoulder, I thought that was for lint retention.
Is it motion controlled?
No.
That's why I'm sitting very still.
I thought maybe tracks like,
No, somebody.
Survive the rain?
say, my rain gauge is 7 inches.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little less.
MMSD rain gauge was like 5.5 or something.
That's what I heard. Like, well, my rain gauge is right in the middle of the, open area. There's nothing above it. There's nothing. So,
Well,
but I'm not quite certain about the first inch. It almost looks like they started an inch after like really like half an inch. Well,
yeah, no, basement is dry.
yeah, it's a major concern, man. I know somebody who's in the basement, isn't it?
Neighbor few doors down, he got water.
Really? That's my fear. Anyway, you get that much, it just can't come.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow. What do you think of that silo? I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say as much. I say it looks like graffiti. Yeah, it does. It looks like one of those, like those telephone poles you see downtown where they're all papered over with like 25 different bulletins for rock bands and stuff. That's what it looks like today. I can't say it. It's like a big thing, but it's like enough to bug me.
Yeah.
Because I think the design is in this, it's a war. It's like you kind of, you know, I get it, right? You know, like, what the hell? You know, like all these little faces, and that's going to be dated right away because that's just how things are. 5 years ago, so that hearing's out or whatever.
Come back to plan commission.
Back to the way they want it.
Down there?
There we go. Like to call this meeting to order. A meeting of the Plan Commission on Monday, September 12th at 6:30 PM in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom. And can be also accessed via WebEx. That was interesting. Roll call shows all Plan Commissioner members present. At this time, we have next on the agenda, public input and public appearance. On tonight's portion of public input and public appearance, we're going to run a 6-minute timer. We've got a fair amount on our agenda tonight, a fair amount of public hearings. So when whoever would like to comes up to the podium to state or provide their information for public input or public appearance, a timer will start, as you can see on that screen over there. And each person will be provided 6 minutes to propose whatever they would like to bring before this body. And then we would ask that they wrap it up by the end of the 6 minutes to give other people opportunities and also to help us keep the meeting moving along. So at this time, if there is anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to participate in public input or public appearance, and if you're here for an item that's on the agenda for public hearing, we would wish that you would hold your comments until those items are up on the agenda and announced. But if you would like to come forward for any other item to bring before this body for public input and public appearance, just come to the podium or make your wishes known and state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to come forward?
Melanie Smythe, N140 W17938 Cedar Lane. I had to think about that. Sorry. Well, I'm glad to see that you have a time bank going, since we didn't have any time last time and now we have double the time. That's great. I'm not going to take the full time. I just have one question, and that is, when will we see a full copy with all the corrections of the 2050 plan and the drawings updated? Do we know?
Couple of days.
Oh, great. Will that be posted on the website then?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, question. Does it not have to go before the village board to be approved before it can be presented, or how is that? Explain how that works.
What we are in the process of wrapping up is taking the plan commission recommendation with all the changes, the major, minor, and what have you. And we have made those changes in the actual draft document and highlighted them so that what goes to the village board for their review will include both the plan commission recommended list of changes, those tables that we had prepared. We've highlighted those with red and green. If the plan commission accepted that change, it'll be highlighted green. If they rejected it, it'll be highlighted red. And all of the green ones will then be reflected in a revised draft that will go along with that. So the board can see both in a nice, neat summary, what the changes were that the plan commission is recommending to the original draft. And then also they can go through the actual document and see where those changes are.
So does, Ms. Smythe, does that clarify it for you? It's not the final draft that you will see, because it still has to be approved by the village board.
Sure.
Then it becomes final, but
No, I think
draft
that's,
is coming out.
I think that's great. I think the way you organized the information was good. It was helpful to see all the different bits and pieces. And that spreadsheet tool was a useful thing. So I do appreciate that. That's great. Thanks. And I will save my 3 minutes and 39 seconds for next time. Thanks.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for public input or public appearance at this time?
Scott Heffley, W159 N10514, Old Farm Road, Germantown. Two things tonight only. I went back and looked. I've been here for a number of sessions. Going back to January of 2020, this plan commission has met 45 times, and out of those 45, 3 times were workshop sessions, not regular committee meetings, which leaves 42 meetings. And all but the last plan commission meeting, public input was on the agenda, therefore allowed. It was taken off on the last meeting on August 22nd. The question I have for the committee, probably certain people on the committee, is why. And yes, I do know public comment is at the discretion of the chairman, Dean Walters. I know that public comment is not required for this meeting. It just seems very odd it wasn't allowed in 1 out of 42 meetings. And tonight we have 6 minutes, not 3. Also, I find interesting. And then the last comment I have, the only second comment, is on the IGA, which we know there's a referendum question on the November 8th ballot. And outside of this room and a few other people, I don't know many people in Germantown that know what it's all about. And I ask around, and my neighbors and people have been asking me. So I said, you know, go to the website. Special committee has been meeting to address the language, and that's been changing. Thanks to the committee for that extra effort. However, I do have a request for tonight. I feel is imperative for those who don't know what the IGA is about, or what's in it, or what's not in it, to have easy access to it. Nowadays, not all about paper or people digging. They want information at their fingertips. I think we owe that to the taxpayer. So my request is for the IGA to be presented in its entirety, because I know we have the final language on that, to be posted on the village website. So anyone who wants can look at it when they have the time, hopefully as a separated drop-down link. I would think by the end of next week should be very doable, in my opinion. Expecting residents to make an appointment during village hall hours to go see Deanna to request viewing of the IGA is ridiculous. Anything else other than posting the information that people are making decision on, in my opinion, is information suppression. Thank you.
Right, to answer a couple of questions that you had. The first one was the plan commission meeting that we had was considered a special plan commission meeting. So during a special meeting, whether it be of the village board or plan commission, a public input and public appearance doesn't need to appear on the agenda. So it was chosen by me not to place it on there based on the amount of work that we had to go through on that day, and wanting to take the time to concentrate on that and get it completed. In regards to your comments on the IGA, most of the work that the Communications Committee has been doing has been approving what is considered the information that will be going out for public input and for public information. So there was different ways that information is going to come out, whether it's going to be mailing or on a website or on the internet, on social media, or even as a video. But before you can start any of those types of things going out there, you have to have a fact sheet that everybody approves. And what that provides the company that's doing the public relations for us is they have that sheet that committee has accepted for all the information and facts that have to be presented within that public information going out. So in regards to putting it on the website, after today's meeting, we will have it going on the website within the week. And then they'll start to happen with mailings, and a video will be coming out, and other social media presence will be coming out with information. And we're also presenting a packet to all the newspaper groups that handle any information coming out of this area, whether it be Germantown or Washington County. So there's about 4 or 5 different newspapers or publishing groups that handle that type of reporting, and that packet will be going to them too, so they can include that in their articles and in their presentation of information. If you have a question, sure. You still got a minute, yeah.
Okay, I understand all of that, but the IGA has been drafted a long time ago. I mean, we know it's out there. It's difficult to dig for, and I know where I'm looking. How about the people that don't know where they're looking? And I'll let you comment. Obviously, you're the chair, but I will say that, you know, waiting for the information to come out is interesting, since we had news articles out with incorrect information on the 16th and the 20th of August, and I know everybody knows that. Thank you.
It wasn't as much of misinformation. What that was a reporter reporting on the committee or village board meeting and the result of that village board meeting. That did not come from our communications group, nor was that a public notice put out by our communication group. So the communication group that we hired for giving out information on this will be presenting their packages, because first you have to have it approved. And that's what all the previous meetings of the marketing committee have been going through that line for line to make sure that all sides are represented. I mean, it is all factual, and it doesn't provide a slanted view of what the IGA is or what the IGA does. So those things have been hammered out for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And now that it's been approved and that fact sheet has been approved, that information will start coming forward. Anybody else for public input or public appearance at this time?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to make, my name is Jan Miller. I'm trustee Jan Miller, District 4. I live at W151 and 10297 Windsong Circle West. A segue to before my comment on the IGA. We would not be having a referendum if there wasn't an IGA. So the IGA is the premise for everything that's being talked about in the referendum. It is the document that sets the pace for anything that's going to be done. And that is the best information that we have. And I think it should be made public.
Well, it should be out there in any of the minutes that it was presented within the committees that it was brought up in, as that IGA was presented several times at the village board.
Understood. But we have all of the referendum things on the front page on a tab.
There's 2 different discussions happening here. One is for the purpose of the referendum and the information that goes out in regards to it for public record and for to get out to the public for information. And the other one is the IGA. Nothing changes on the IGA as far as the way that it's written. What is in regards to the referendum is the information and how it's presented, so that it's based on facts only and no perception or opinion within that information presented.
The IGA doesn't have any anything but facts.
Right,
It's
but the IGA is available on the website.
not easily accessible. That's the point.
Okay,
Put
got
it
it.
on the front page. All right. My main comment is that I also attended the Plan Commission meeting on 8/22. The main purpose for, I believe, that Plan Commission meeting was to review all of the citizen input, everybody's input for the 2050 comprehensive plan, and come up with a resolution for the comprehensive plan. In an earlier meeting, around 2 weeks prior to that, I shared with the Plan Commission a state statute, which is 66.10014B. And it is the statute for creating the comprehensive plan for all villages, cities, and entities. And it states a village's comprehensive plan must first be recommended for adoption via the adoption of a resolution by the Village Plan Commission or other governmental unit authorized to prepare or amend a comprehensive plan. This resolution must be adopted by a majority vote of the entire commission or governmental unit. Note, so it is, so what happened in 8/22 meeting was there was a vote for the comprehensive plan. There were 5 commissioners, so the vote was 5 out of 7 for the comprehensive plan. And I don't believe it's a valid vote, and I'm disappointed that we haven't been able to, the attorney has been able to put this to rest by state clarification. Thank you.
Don't leave. Jan, stay up there. So as the statute reads, that the Plan Commission, any types of 2050 or call it the land use plan must be voted on and approved by the majority of the entire board. It doesn't say the entire board must be present. What that offsets is if we would have a, let's say a limited quorum here of 4 people, just 4. And through that 4 people, 3 people voted in favor of it and 1 person voted against it. That would only be 3 people out of the 7 that would have voted in favor of it. That is not a majority of the Plan Commission. It has to be 4 or more. This happened to be 5. So based on the state statute, which our village attorney has explained to you several times in several different emails, this fits that criteria based on his experience and his knowledge of the state statute. So it is a valid vote and it is a valid recommendation to go forward to the village board. It won't go back to Plan Commission. It will go forward to the village board at the next village board meeting, and they can take it up from there as to where they wanted to discuss it, change it, approve it, or wait on it. But it really is now up to the village board.
The example that Attorney Brian gave us, gave me was from 1922. The state statute was updated somewhere around 2019. So when it says entire commission, I would think that would be all of you. So I agree to disagree.
It was approved by a majority of the entire commission, 5 people.
I understand what you're saying, and I just agree to disagree.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to come forward for public input or public appearance at this time? Or is there anyone joining us via WebEx that would like to join in for public input or public appearance? No? Is that it? Then we could go on to the next item. The agenda. I'm sorry, was there somebody there? No? All right, we can go then to the approval of minutes from the August 22nd, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
Move approval as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes from August 22nd, 2022 Plan Commission meeting? Mr. Williams? Okay, thank you. Mr. Shadid? Okay. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. That then takes us to new business, starting with new business, item A. Jacob and Catherine Cervantes, applicants and property owners of North 120 West 13537 Freistadt Road. Conditional use permit application to keep and raise certain animals, including horses, poultry, fowl, and other animals in an RS2 single-family zoning district property. And that is on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. And to give us some more background and information on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our associate planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. The Cervantes are the owners of a 4-acre residential parcel located on the south side of Freistadt Road. They are requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the keeping of up to 2 horses, a potbelly pig, and poultry and fowl for family consumption on their property. The zoning of the property is RS2, single-family residential. There's agricultural zoning to the north and surrounding the property. There's MMSD property to the east and south of the subject property. So as presented in the application supporting documentation, the Cervantes intend to raise 2 horses, 1 potbelly pig, and up to 40 poultry or fowl, hens, no roosters, for non-commercial purposes. They will use the existing outbuildings on the property to house the animals. A sketch showing where the animals will be kept has been included in the application materials and is on the screen. Manure will be incorporated into the compost to be used for gardening. Section 9.11 of the Village Code, which is the peace and public peace and good order section, states that the building used for the keeping, maintaining, and housing of livestock, poultry, or fowl needs to be set back a minimum of 50 feet from a residential structure and up 100 feet from adjacent property lines. There are existing agricultural buildings on this property or portions of the buildings that do meet these setback requirements. Section 9.11 also states that any person shall, prior to keeping or maintaining livestock, poultry, or fowl, erect and maintain fences as described in Chapter 90 of the Wisconsin State Statutes. All fencing for this purpose will require a building permit from Inspection Services, and a secure enclosed area will be required prior to housing any animals on the property. This property is not located within a residential subdivision, so there's not a homeowners association with covenants that apply to the property. So on your screen, you can see a black box which shows the proposed building area for the animals. Just a little bit of context, the house is on the very top of the screen along Frystad Road. The red lines show a potential fence for a horse pasture, and the purple lines show potential fencing for a riding arena. So the RS2 zoning district specifically provides for the keeping of not more than 1 horse, more than 6 months of age per 2 acres, and the raising of poultry or fowl for family consumption only with a conditional use permit. The Cervantes have 4 acres and therefore they'd be permitted up to 2 horses. For family consumption only has been interpreted in this case to mean for non-commercial purposes, which isn't to say that they would not be able to sell their chickens or their eggs at any point, but it would need to be on an occasional basis or in an accessory manner. If the retail sales, though, do occur and evolve into an amount or become a regular thing that has the effect of changing the character of the property, the village may require review of the operation under the village's home-based business requirements. A potbelly pig under section 9.11 is permitted 1 per household, kept for a pet but not for breeding purposes. The subject property is not located in a residential subdivision, as I stated before, and is surrounded by property of agricultural character or open space preservation. The property to the east and south is owned by the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District and is anticipated to remain as conservation land into the future. Just for a little bit of context, this property was formerly owned by Jason Belke and was the site of the since relocated illegal landscaping business. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for Jacob and Catherine Cervantes to allow the keeping of up to 2 horses, a potbelly pig, and the raising of poultry or fowl for family consumption on their property located at N120W13537 Frystad Road, subject to 4 conditions. And those conditions are on the screen if you have any questions regarding those.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sant. Then I will open this public hearing by hereby stating, a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown and virtually through WebEx on Monday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following application for a conditional use permit for the keeping and raising of certain animals, including horses, poultry, fowl, and other animals on the property described below, pursuant to Section 17.15 subsection 2 subparagraph A and B of the Village Zoning Code. The applicant is Jacob and Catherine Cervantes. Applicants and the property owners, and the property is located at North 120 West 13537 Freistadt Road. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward? Before we do that, I do have one email that we had received that I'd like to read in for the record. And the email was received on August 1st, and it says, "My name is Bob Zanego. I own the property at North 116 West 13480 Elm Lane, and I am in favor of allowing Mr. and Mrs. Cervantes to have chicken and horses on their property. I see no reason to object to this and would love to have animals at nearby houses. Thanks, Bob Zanego." So with that entry, we would then welcome anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the conditional use permit for keeping and raising certain animals. Is there anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against? Ma'am? Just come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Tracy Bernardi. I live at West 13645 Freistadt Road. We've lived there for 28 years. Our property is adjacent to Jake and Catherine's on their west side. They do have a 4-acre parcel, and I don't know if this matters, but as you can see on the picture, the majority of it, if not probably 3/4 of the property, is covered by their house and lawn in the front, and then buildings, concrete, asphalt, and gravel elsewhere, which leaves little green area to house and pasture the animals, store the manure, and have a garden where they'll compost the manure. Especially since there's a restricted from development area because of wetlands in the bottom southeast corner, which isn't shown on there, which is almost a 1/2 acre in size. And if, I don't know if they planned on putting the fence all the way down that way also, because I don't know if then that can be installed, if that's considered building by digging holes and installing fences in that area. Some of that wetland area was already disturbed and filled in by the previous owner. Right now, Jake and some of his workers have also been importing fill and filling in the restricted area and grading it to make, I assume, pasture grass. And kind of the filling and importing and grading, that is development by definition. I assume that's done without an erosion control measures in place, because I would think that the planning department or the engineering department would not have allowed them to be working in a restricted area. Filling in those wetlands causes more water to be pushed into the creek, which the creek then runs under Freistadt Road along the ditch on the north side. And then further down west, it comes back onto our property. The creek is on ours, so the more water coming in, the more it isn't staying in the creek and expanding onto our property further from our house, right next to our house. They show the potential fence pasture area attaching to the red barn, which, I don't know. That obviously was originally built to house animals and probably would be the most reasonable, or not reasonable, the most logical place to keep them there. But I think the reason why it's not being considered is because it's 30 feet, or not 30 feet, yeah, I think less than 30 feet from the lot line on that side. At the time when this lot was made and reduced from a 40-acre lot down to a 4-acre lot, Mr. Retzloff at the time in 2006 foresaw the potential problems with these buildings, and he stated, quote, "The use of such buildings for many ag and non-ag uses alike may no longer be possible with the change in the zoning and the parcel size. It's probably because none of the buildings on there right now are far enough away from any lot lines to have animals. I know Emily said portions of the one building is, and that is, I believe, true, that if they put the animals in the front 30 feet of that building, then that would meet the definition. A lot of our concerns are more with the land and issues about it. And when I spoke with Attorney Sadak about if something had been resolved with the previous owner, he said this would be the time to bring up those other issues as they should be considered or could be considered at the time of a public hearing. So our biggest concern is the property is surface runoff from them. It's bringing debris of branches, rocks, litter, sediment. And now, because this has been going on since July of 2020, before it used to just lay on the top of our land. Now it's been going on so much that it's actually kind of eroded the land and made a little bit of a gully for the creek that shouldn't be there onto our property. This problem predated the Cervantes. This has nothing to do with them. It started after all the imported fill was spread and the installation of the unapproved asphalt parking lot was put in there. There was so much fill put under the parking lot and over about the west half of the property. And there was no engineer involvement to approve or look at it before adding the fill or installing the parking. We call it a parking lot. It's asphalt shavings covered over 3 to 4 feet high of fill, concrete, asphalt, and dirt that was left there by the previous owner. The current property height of Cervantes land in the area is now above original grade, and it varies from about 1 foot high, right where our property lines meet, and the creek enters our the water enters our property. That used to be, they both were the same grade level. And then it probably gradually increases up to 3 to 4 feet higher than original grade where the parking lot is currently located, which is where they are potentially thinking of having their riding area.
Ma'am, you're up to just a little bit beyond 6 minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to our attention immediately? Within 30 seconds, or pass the baton perhaps?
Pass the baton to my husband.
Okay.
He can finish taking, well, I'll just finish. We did have Larry and Eli of the engineering department out to see and evaluate the property, the Belkey property and ours. They took pictures. I also have provided other pictures to Attorney Sadak, the pictures of the extent of, showing the extent of the water runoff. Given all the impervious areas on the property, we believe that Mr. Belkey needed to make a detention pond or some other sort of stormwater management. Problem wasn't corrected by him, despite him being told that he needed to come up with plans for doing so. And in my opinion, the problem needs to be resolved before any animals are added to the mix, as we don't want the addition of manure or manure tea falling onto our property.
Okay.
Am I over?
Yep. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for coming forward. Mhm.
Good evening. Excuse me, Bruce Bernardi, North 120, West 13645 Freishad Road, adjacent to the west of Cervantes. The last issue of the property before considering a CUP for the 2 horses, fowl and pig, and that Jake is using the property to perform some business activities. He has logs and wood delivered, dumped on the asphalt and stored outside next to the blue barn, which he intends on housing the horses. He and his workers use chainsaws and cut up logs, use the log splitter, and toss split wood and material into the metal trailers, which are hauled away. This is not an everyday occurrence, but it has woken us up, and it might increase as the weather changes, as it doesn't allow for Jake to do as much concrete work in his other business during the winter. Jake is also dumping branch debris from off-site work that comes here in the trailer at the end of some work days, as our previous owner did. Also dumped here, which is piling up, is plywood, concrete parking barriers, and other debris. He is a young guy and with 2 successful businesses, and we understand that, and he'll likely continue to grow his business. We don't want this property developing something similar to what Mr. Belke did. I don't believe his firewood business would be allowed as a CUP, but if so, it's probable it would require some keeping of all his trailers, trucks, and other equipment inside the barn and out of the view, which they currently are not. Like the Voss CUP on Century Lane, that business is on a 16 acre and zoned resident and zone agricultural. The front of the blue barn is the only place that would fall within the code. If the animals are there, is Jake really going to bring the company equipment in and out of the front overhead doors of where the animals will be housed? Another thought, there are new buildings where the current chickens are on grass now. Why would they house the chickens in gravel without access to the grass and the CUP approved? We want to issues associated with the property, and I've outlined resolve granting the CUP. Maybe you could ask, or maybe you could also speak with the engineering department before deciding on this application. With questions in particular to the animals. I mean, 2 horses, granted they have 4 acres. If you look at my first, the first page is a survey. The second one is the overhead of the actual property. This was taken back in April of last year when Belke was still there. That back parking lot where those vehicles are that you can see parked there, that's the area that we're talking about that's raised in elevation anywhere from 1 to, in that left-hand corner there, almost 5 feet. That's where the water runs into our property. That big lot there where those vehicles are, that's been filled in with asphalt concrete and asphalt grindings put on there. That's like that's like regular asphalt. Second picture shows different dates of when we do get rain, and this is how the water ends up on our property. It runs off of there and onto our property where the trees are. The second photo actually shows Belke's vehicle still there, the height of the fill that he's put in there with the asphalt grindings on, and you can see the water, the river running right into our property. Same with the next photo. You can see actually the water is up to the area where the asphalt or the grindings are piled up there, you know, the 4 feet or 5 feet, whatever it is, it runs into our property. You know, like my wife said, before consideration of anything on this, I would hope that the planning commission and get together with Mr. Retzloff and the engineering department and speak with Larry and Eli and see how this can be resolved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the conditional use permit for keeping and raising certain animals, including horses, poultry, and fowl, in the residence that was listed at North 120 West 13537 Freistadt Road? Yes.
Jake Cervantes, N120 North 13537 Freistadt Road. I'm the owner of the property. So I guess as far as like where the pasture would be, it would be that whole strip. So when we first moved in, that was and planted pasture seed, cleaned it all up. And as far as the illegal, regrading of that area on the east side of it, that is the no development, I spoke with Jeff and I had asked him, as long as we don't do anything digging out with the erosion or anything, take soil out, we just scrape it, bring in some topsoil, plant pasture. So that's what's going on that section of it. So maybe that's what people think that, is happening as far as erosion, taking soil out. We're cleaning it up. So I understand that there was previous owners here that, had quite a disturbance, did the legal business, whatever happened. We moved to this community to, we read the ordinances before we moved here. We want to have horses, raise a family here. I have a business, I have a concrete business and a firewood business. I rent a spot in New Berlin. I have a yard in New Berlin. It's at Certified Products off 190th and Lincoln. That's where everything is stored. And I also had a conversation with Jeff that if I bring one truck and one trailer home once in a while, it would be a skid loader. It would be used for clearing out areas on the property and going to the job. So as far as storing equipment, there's one trailer and a truck. If we're working in the area, we just did 2 jobs in Germantown a week. Sure, an enclosed trailer might come there for the night. Is it stored there long-term? No. So if we're working in the area and we're not gonna bring that trailer all the way back to New Berlin and store it there for the night to perform work in Germantown again, that happens. So as far as where our base is, it's in New Berlin. As far as, all that runoff, I would say that a lot of the runoff goes in the MMSD. Sure, some of the water does go into the adjacent properties to the west, and I also had a conversation that there was no outstanding problems with the fill. There was no outstanding problems with the disposal of the asphalt or anything when we moved in. So as far as what the previous owners did, I mean, when you purchase a property, anything that, and correct me if I'm wrong, anything that is outstanding, I'm not sure if that stays with the property or if it's all said and done when you purchase a property. And, like I said, the main goal is to be a law-abiding citizen in this community, raise a family, have a successful business that produces great work to the community. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the conditional use permit?
Hello, Catherine Cervantes at N120W13537 Freistadt Road, also owner of the property. I just wanted to say again that our purpose of moving to Germantown was because we knew there was 4 acres and that we could have horses. Same with chickens. We did have chickens in Milwaukee, so we would like to keep our chickens. But the main thing here is that we just want to have our animals. We moved to 4 acres to have animals. We moved from the city of Milwaukee, where obviously you can't have animals. So that was our main purpose in moving out here. And the reason we chose the property was because it had buildings for storage for animals and to have animals. And once again, we're not Jason Bulkey. We're not here to make issues. We're not here to make issues with our business, which is why Jake has talked to Jeff multiple times about the things that we can have at our house, and that, Jake Jake's personal truck is his work truck. So of course that needs to come home. How else is he gonna get to and from work? And if he brings one trailer, we had discussed that that would be okay. And then to use our equipment on our land, as we talked about as well, that we discussed that that would be okay. I guess I don't see why you would have to rent another vehicle when you already own one. Our workers don't come to our house. Like Jake said, they go to New Berlin, where our places that we rent. Jake's brother has come over to split wood with us. We do have a wood burning stove, so we split wood and we use that wood for our wood burning stove in winter. We have fires quite a bit in our backyard. So yes, we do bring in wood to have fires in our backyard and split and stuff like that. So we have a splitter and Jake's brother has a splitter, so both of them have gone out there on occasion to split wood. I can't say that it's been more than 5 times, and it's never super early in the morning. We're very respectful of time and noise. As we lived in Milwaukee and people were not always super respectful of time and noise. And we do now live in what we consider to be kind of the country. So they're really our only neighbors, as MMSD is pretty much what surrounds the rest of us. Yeah, like I said, our purpose here is just to do things right. We're here applying for a permit to have some animals that the village says we can have. And that's what we intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Something to add? Sure.
And as far as the trailers coming and going with the wood, also my brother has a house, so that wood goes to his house too. So, you know, we have Cervantes Firewood and Cervantes Concrete Services. So as far as running Cervantes firewood out of that property, that doesn't happen. So it's for the wood burning stove, for personal use in our fire pit, and also for my brother's house. So that's where the firewood goes to. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against? Kind of. No, we can't have the discussion within the audience. Man, I'll give you about a minute if you'd like, if there's something you'd like to respond to.
The quantity of logs, I mean, these are logs that are then cut up and whatever, and then split and whatever. It seems more than a person would typically use in an outdoor fire pit. They don't have a fireplace in their house. They do have a wood burning thing in what used to be an employee work thing. I can provide pictures to show you. Maybe you guys could go out there and see it. And as far as the part in the southeast, that is wetlands and it was filled in. So I guess I'm surprised that that would have been okay. And that's it. But yes, I have pictures and probably some videos.
First of all, I don't have anything against the Cervantes. I don't have anything against them having animals. My key note is in those last photos in there of the water that runs off. I mean, you can see the water. It's not even raining. You can see the water running. I agree. There's a ditch. A lot of it will go to the east. But the previous owner created this problem. Talking with the village attorney said, this is the time to bring this up. And that's why we're here. I'm not against the animals. I'm not against them. They're better than what we had there before. I mean, they're nice people. I have nothing against the animals, but this is the time that something should be done before they get approval for this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the conditional use permit? Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, then this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners?
I will start off by making a motion to approve the conditional use permit for Jacob and Catherine Cervantes to allow the keeping of specifically 2 horses, 1 pot-bellied pig, and the raising of poultry. And the number has been stated as 40 for family consumption on the property located at North 120 West 13537 Freistadt Road, subject to the 4 conditions. And you guys are aware of the 4 conditions? Okay. That's my motion.
Motion made. We have a second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Baum.
While I have no problem with the animals, what is the story with all the grading and the problem with drainage and all that stuff? Where are we at with that? It's not, they didn't cause it, but we've been listening to this for 2 years?
2 years.
Where are we at with that?
Prior to the Bilkey operation leaving the site and the property being sold, the village engineer, public works director visited the property, took photographs, made a recommendation on what needed to be done to correct the swale that appears, I think, in the photographs that you were handed out, that lies about midway down on the west side of the parcel. And clearly water is running off into the Bernardi property. At that particular point in time, we were working through attorneys because of the citation issue and the property being sold and some of the other issues surrounding the situation. And so that recommendation was made to the property owner, Bilkey, through attorneys. And to my knowledge, nothing was done. And there was no follow-up. And so the issue clearly still exists. And as far as whose problem it is, I mean, clearly the property owner inherited a situation that needs to be remedied in some way. The fix that the village engineer identified was simply creating a diversion by regrading the existing soil or the topography there to divert the water to run back to the east and not across the property line into the Bernardi property. I don't know how difficult or easy of a fix that is, but that's apparently what the village engineer identified as the fix for this particular situation.
Okay. So can I talk to the applicant or am I not allowed to talk to the applicant?
Ask a question, sure.
Mr. Cervantes, you've inherited a problem. Are you willing to remedy that problem? I got I don't think anybody has a problem with your animals, but these folks have had water draining onto their property for years and they want it remedied. And now you own this problem. Is there a way you can fix the problem to help your neighbor?
So obviously, we got to talk to whatever person that has to approve this because it's going to affect the erosion on the property. But
Correct.
my solution would be to build, it's already built up. Built up here, it's built up here. There's a swale that runs through there. Yes, some water goes onto the adjacent property. So built up here, there's a swale here. So what if we fill in that swale and all the water comes back onto our property? I mean,
I think
easy enough.
we can't answer that. I think you have to work with the village engineer to get that approved so that it is a legal solution to the problem.
And like my wife said, and I'm saying, we're here to do
Yeah.
whatever we have to do. If
Yeah,
I wanted to run an illegal business, I would do it, but I'm
Right.
here standing before all you guys to do it right, so.
none of the other stuff seems to be an issue, for me at least. I don't know about the rest of the board. The animals are fine. You chopping some wood, that's for personal use and your brother's use. I don't see an issue with that. It's the water spilling onto their property, which has been a problem of theirs for 2 years now.
Sure.
You've inherited that. If you can work with the village engineer to rectify that situation, I think I would be fine with what you're doing. But that problem you've inherited. I'm sorry you've inherited it, but you've inherited it, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So at some point, I'm gonna make a motion to have you work with the village engineer to solve this problem, and I'll give you a timeline on that. I don't know how long I need to be, but I'll wait to hear from the rest of the board to see what they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lashewski.
I'm a bit conflicted because there's like two things going on. One is what's in front of us, the conditional use permit, which I don't think we can really not approve subject to, what is it, health, safety, and public welfare. Because I don't see, you can say there's a public welfare issue here with the water, but what they're asking for, I don't think contributes to that. It's already existent on the property. So in terms of what's in front, I guess the question I have, and I don't know if it's for the village attorney or if it's for you, Jeff, is what they're asking for today, if we can, again, via Act 67, say we can't do this because there's a different issue going on, and that's the water. Because I do agree, the water should be, that just from what I see there, the drainage, et cetera, the runoff isn't a good thing. But I almost think that's a separate issue, unless I'm corrected.
Well, I would suggest this, and I think Mr. Bernardi brought it up. With the animals and manure and the commingling of that with the runoff, and I think it could be a health issue. I don't know how serious of a health issue, but I think one could make that argument that before you allow the animals generating the manure, that you fix the stormwater situation, at least with regard to it creating a problem on the Bernardi property.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Mr. Shadid.
Wait a minute.
Now you're on.
What's a reasonable amount of time to determine what has to be done? I mean, I kind of agree with the last comment that you made, Jeff, that there could be a somewhat of a health issue here. So it would be nice to kind of put the whole package together. I thought of them for a while there as two different things, but now I'm not thinking that. So I don't think the animals should be allowed until whatever we're going to do with the wastewater or the water is taken care of. But what are we talking about? 6 months? 1 month? I don't know.
Well, I would say this, I believe that the village engineer had, based on a site visit and review of the existing topography, came up with a recommended solution. I don't know if anything has changed since then, but I would imagine the solution is still the same, but I think it's something that would probably need to be engineered in some way. It probably doesn't take a lot, but at least to make sure that the runoff doesn't continue to be a problem. I don't know how long that would take. I don't know if the village engineer if that's something that they're, quite frankly, are able to take on themselves. I recall that the first time they went out there, it was not necessarily voluntarily because it's not part of their duties. It's a private property issue, and I think it may be something that gets kicked back to an engineer, hired and represented for the property owner. But be that as it may, I don't know that attaching a time frame is necessary. I think one alternative would be to simply say, if you're inclined to approve the CUP for the animals, that they not be brought on the property, or I believe there are some chickens out there already that they brought with them based on what I heard this evening, but then no more animals be brought out there until the problem is fixed and the fix is certified by the village engineer in some way, or reported back to based on an inspection.
So would it be appropriate for me to make a motion that we amend the motion made with the stipulation that the water situation be a plan put in place for the water situation before we allow the animals to be on the property?
You'd add a condition to the approval for the conditional use.
Right.
That's how it could be amended.
I guess that's right. Okay.
condition number 5. You stated.
Let's make a motion, I make a motion that we add condition number 5, that we determine the amount of, we determine the plan for remediating the water situation before we approve the animals to be on the property.
Additional animals.
Pardon?
There's already some there.
Additional animals, okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made to amend and seconded. Discussion.
The work being completed, not just the plan being prepared, correct?
That's up to the motion maker.
Will you go along with that? That probably makes more sense.
May I ask,
Further discussion? Yes.
Mr. Cervantes, do you understand what we're saying here? Correct. We don't have a problem with the animals. We have a problem with this water. We want the water issue resolved before you bring more animals onto the property. I think you have been talking to the village engineer. Keep talking with him, get a solution. Okay.
It was a previous owner.
Oh, the previous owner, okay. Have a conversation with the village engineer, see what he wants you to do. He may require you to hire a civil engineer who's sitting in front of you, a couple of rows in front of you, that may be willing to help you with this type of problem. But we need a solution in place and resolved before you can bring on any more animals. But your animals are more than welcome once we get this resolved. Yeah, we. Yeah. The grading, yeah. This committee does not have the ability to waive fees. So you'll have to talk to the planning department and the engineering department about fees.
And before the village board possibly.
Well, possibly. We can only tell you what we can approve. We can approve the animals coming on, provided the water is resolved. And that's what the motion has become.
Okay.
How long it takes is up to you, working with the village planner and the village engineer. So we're leaving it up to you guys to figure out how long it's gonna take and let you do what you gotta do. But we're okay with the animals.
Further discussion on the motion to amend? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion? Mr. Williams?
Just one question. Will the conditional use permit identify the limitations on the animals? I just noted that it identifies that there's a limit of 2 horses and 1 pot-bellied pig, but the limitation on the poultry is in the code that says 10 for the first 2 acres, 15 each for every acre thereafter. So is that going to be governed by the code, or is that going to be in the conditional use permit?
My motion was to allow the 40 that was stated.
Okay.
Oh, we can certainly make sure that's written into the conditional use.
It's not in the, yeah, it's not in the conditions there.
Yep, that's absolutely, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, further discussion on the motion as amended? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Cervantes, for coming tonight. We appreciate that. Next item under new business is item B, Mary Best, applicant and property owner located at West 181 North 12556 Fond du Lac Avenue, for an application to rezone a portion of the property from A1 Agricultural District to the RS4 Single Family Residential District, and a certified survey map to legally record a lot line adjustment. That's on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. And to give us more information and background on new business item B, we'll turn the meeting over again to our associate planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. So the applicant and property owner of the property on Fond du Lac Avenue did acquire some property on the north, the east, and the south sides of her property via warranty deed in order to replace a septic system. The Village of Germantown, however, does require a CSM for all lot line adjustments or boundary modifications. And so the purpose of this CSM is simply to clear up and essentially create a legal lot line adjustment within the village. So the property is located on the north side of Fond du Lac Avenue and is zoned RS1 single family residential. There's ag zoning to the north and the south, and a couple of residents to the south, and then a residence to the west as well. So you can see here the dashed line represents the original boundary of the property, which was, and then it was expanded via warranty deed to acquire land to the north, some to the east, and some to the south of the property. With that, that land also needs to be rezoned from A1 agricultural to the RS1, I'm sorry, the RS4 single-family residential district. The village's consulting engineer and public works director did identify a few technical corrections, and those revisions have been included as a condition of approval. With the CSM road right-of-way dedication along Fond du Lac Avenue is required. Given the state jurisdiction of this road, details of the dedication, including width and necessary DOT approval, need to be finalized before recording the CSM. So staff recommends approval of rezoning a portion of the property from A1 agricultural to RS4 single family as proposed. And staff recommends approval of the proposed one lot certified survey map for the Mary Best property at W181N12556 Fond du Lac Avenue for the purpose of legally recording a lot line adjustment subject to two conditions, the technical corrections from the village's consulting engineer, and then details of the right-of-way dedication being resolved.
A notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on Monday, September 12th at 6:30 PM or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following applications for a rezoning of the portion of the subject property from A1 Agricultural District to the RS4 Single Family Residential Zoning District pursuant to Section 17.17 of the Village Zoning Code and a certified survey map to legally record a lot line adjustment. The applicant is Mary Best, applicant and property owner, and the property is located at West 181 North 12556 Fond du Lac Avenue. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of this property? Anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against? One last time, is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of the property? This public hearing is now closed. Commissioners,
I make a motion to approve the proposed rezoning request for Mary Best to rezone a portion of the proposed lot 1 from A1 agricultural to RS4 single family as proposed.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the proposed one lot certified survey map for Mary Best property located on Fond du Lac Avenue for the purpose of legally recording the lot line adjustments subject to the two conditions as presented. Are you aware of the two conditions? Okay. Any problems with those? All right.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming tonight. Next item under new business is new business item C. Brian Deppis of SEH, agent for Thomas Rakow, property owner located at West 140 North 11066 Country Air Drive for an application to rezone a portion of the property from the A2 Agricultural District to the RS1 Single Family Residential Zoning District and a two-lot certified survey map application on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. Give us more information, background on this new business item. Again, we'll turn the meeting over to our Associate Planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. So the subject property is located in the southeast corner of the Mequon Road and Country Air Drive intersection. The existing zoning is A2 agricultural. There's residential zoning to the north across Mequon Road, A2 agricultural zoning to the south, A2 agricultural zoning to the east, and then variety of residential districts as well as a B5 commercial district on the other side of Country Air Drive. The 15-acre parcel does contain an existing single-family dwelling and accessory building on the south portion of the property, and the purpose of this application is simply to be able to sell the house and 5 acres of land separate from the 10-acre agricultural land to the north. There'll be a 5.1 acre parcel that will contain the existing single-family dwelling and its accessory structure on proposed Lot 1, and a 10.48 acre parcel or proposed Lot 2 that will remain in agricultural use at this time. The wetland located on proposed Lot 2 has been delineated and the boundary has been included on the CSM. With the proposed CSM, a rezoning of the proposed Lot 1 is required from the A2 Agricultural District to the RS1 Single Family Residential District, which requires a minimum lot size of 5 acres. If proposed Lot 2 is developed in the future, the extension of sanitary sewer from the north side of Mequon Road would be required. The water utility serves properties along Country Air Drive already. The village engineering consultant has identified a few technical corrections in a memo dated September 2nd. These items will need to be corrected prior to recording the CSM. So staff recommends approval of the rezoning of proposed Lot 1, 5.12 acres from A1 agricultural to RS1 single family residential as proposed, and approval of the two-lot certified survey map for the 15.67 acre property located at W140 and 11066 Country Air Drive with one condition to address the technical corrections.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll open this public hearing by hereby stating, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on Monday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following applications for a rezoning a portion of the subject property from the A2 Agricultural District to the RS1 Single Family Zoning District pursuant to section 17.14 of the Village Zoning Code and a certified survey map to divide the property. The applicant is Brian Deppis, SCH, applicant for Thomas Rackow, property owner, and the property is located at West 140 North 11066 Country Air Drive. Is there anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of this property? Anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against? Okay, one last time. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of the subject property? Right. Then this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners.
Make a motion to approve the rezoning proposed Lot 1, 5.2 acres from A1 agricultural to RS1 single family residential as proposed.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the two-lot certified survey map for the 15.67 acre Rackow property located at West 140 North 11066 Country Air Drive with the one condition as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve?
Does the applicant understand the one condition?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Next item under new business is item D, Village of Germantown property owner and agent for Kathleen Kraus. Property owner, property A, North 104, West 12703, Donges Bay Road, and property B, North 104, West 12667, Donges Bay Road. Application to rezone property A from the A1 agricultural to the industrial district, and application to rezone property B from the A1 agricultural to the M1 limited industrial zoning district, and a conditional use permit to encroach into the 25-foot wetland setback and site plan application for a 127,000 square foot public works facility. To give us some more background information on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The three applications on tonight's agenda include rezoning applications, the conditional use permit application, and a site building and development plan application. The Village of Germantown is looking to relocate its public works facility and operations to one location. This site is subject of that proposed development. As shown on the screen, the properties are located at the southwest corner of Donges Bay at Wasaki Road intersections. We discussed these as far back as March and April of this year, where we discussed the creation of TID number 9 for the 38-acre parcel to the east, right at the intersection, currently owned by Kathleen Kraus. It's under contract with the village. Closing for that is scheduled for later this month. The longer parcel in the middle is currently owned by the village, and that is the DPW site that I'll be referring to this evening, and subject to the detailed development applications that we'll be going through shortly. To sum up, the rezoning applications include to rezone 2 parcels, a total of 78 acres, the DPW parcel from A1 agricultural to I institutional, and the Kraus parcel, also referred to as the TID 9 parcel, or the Omega Hills Business Park parcel, to rezone that from A1 to M1 limited industrial. We also have a conditional use permit application for the DPW parcel to allow encroachment into a 25-foot wetland setback, and the detailed site development and building plans for the DPW parcel, specifically for 127,000 square foot industrial building for the public works operation. As you can see on the screen, the property is positioned just southwest of the existing business park in Germantown. These sites, again, were discussed earlier this year for this type of development. Back in April, we talked about creation of the TID, and we also reviewed a concept plan for development of the TID 9 parcel. Both the rezonings that are proposed are consistent with the 2020 land use plan. As shown on the screen, the purple indicates the industrial classification. This plan has been in place since the early 2000s and shows this area as being suitable for future industrial type development. Also, the 2050 plan, land use plan, the draft plan, the area has been identified as the Omega Hills Industrial District. And again, the proposed rezonings and use of the property for industrial purposes is consistent with the 2050 plan as currently drafted. With regard to the site development and building plans, this graphic shows both the DPW site plan on the left and a concept plan for industrial development on the TID 9 site on the right. As you can see, the DPW site is the location of the development is on the southern half of the parcel. As shown on this graphic on the left, there's a cul-de-sac that's proposed. Currently, the proposed street name is Omega Hills Parkway. That cul-de-sac would provide access to the DPW facility. The graphic on the right is just a a zoomed-in version of the site plan that shows the actual development area. And what you'll see in closer proximity is the building itself, 127,000 square foot industrial building, housing administrative staff and storage offices, 10 service bays, a maintenance area and lifts, 2 vehicle wash stations, indoor storage for service vehicles, equipment, and trailers. There's a parking area, employee parking on the west side of the building. 50 stalls are being constructed. An outdoor storage yard for things such as light poles, storm sewers, culverts, and piping used in operations. There will be a fuel filling station on the site with a 5,000 gallon diesel and a 5,000 gallon regular fuel filling location. There is the salt shed and a brine operation we relocated onto the property, and a recycling facility with gated access to deal with residential yard waste, mulching, metal, oil, and antifreeze recycling operations on the property as well. Also being developed as part of the site include stormwater management facilities. There are 2 wet storm basins to be constructed on the site and 2 bioretention basins to be constructed also on the site. In the detailed plans that were provided to the Plan Commission, you can see the details of the landscaping. This graphic shows the street trees proposed along the new public street, the cul-de-sac, Omega Hills Parkway, and also around the facility itself, mostly along the driveway, the parking areas, and the perimeter of the site. Lighting that's proposed includes lighting along the driveway, the cul-de-sac, into the site and around the perimeter of the site and in the parking lot. The proposed building, 127,000 square feet of industrial storage with a mezzanine, insulated precast concrete wall panels with a 30 and 32-foot panel wall height, painted, smooth, scored, and acid etched finishes with a color palette including natural limestone, a rusty gate, sort of a orangey tannish color, and then a more browner tan, a rodeo tan color. The material board, I think, is being passed around. Aluminum storefront window systems throughout with dark brown color as shown on the material panel, again on screen and being passed around for the Plan Commission. This rendering shows the west elevation overlooking the parking area on the west side of the building. Closer inversion of that view. Building rendering both on the top and also on the bottom with the color palette displayed. And the building elevations, if we need to look at those more closely, we can go through those. The third application that's before you this evening is a conditional use permit application concerning wetland encroachment. There are a total of approximately 15 acres of wetland that were identified across the 2 parcels. 8 of those wetland areas were deemed to be artificial by the DNR and are not regulated and suitable to be filled. There are the 3 remaining regulated wetlands are located on the DPW site in whole or in part. And the DNR has granted approval to partially fill portions of each of those 3 wetlands. Wetland W5, 1.21 acres. The DNR has approved filling of 1,825 square feet. That wetland is located, I believe that's the one at the top. Wetland 6, it's 12.34 acres. Wetland fill approved is 3,545 square feet. In fact, that's the one at the top, right near the intersection of Donjas Bay and the new cul-de-sac. And the smaller wetland, 0.43 acres in size in the southwest corner, right along the property line. DNR approved filling 3,926 square feet to be filled. The total fill area is under 10,000 square feet, so there is no mitigation or compensation being required by the DNR. However, the village does enforce a 25-foot wetland setback around wetlands, including wetlands that are partially filled. The wetland setback simply gets moved relative to the area of the wetland that has been filled. In this case, there are 3 areas where wetland setback is being impacted. The total amount of wetland setback area disturbed is approximately 38,000 square feet. The proposal is to provide compensation in the form of vegetative buffers around the remaining wetlands on the site, particularly the wetland in the south part, south of the building where the bioretention basin is to be constructed. The amount of compensation is just under 72,000 square feet or 1.65 acres, just under a 1-to-2 ratio for compensation. The minimum required is a 1-to-1. So the village will be compensating for more of the impact on the wetland setback area as part of this than required by the code. Couple of staff comments. Again, the rezoning that are proposed, both the rezonings that are proposed are consistent with the 2020 and the 2050 land use plan maps. There was no roof plan that was included as part of the packet. However, given the relative location of the DPW facility away from the public rights of way and with the landfill area behind it, it's unlikely that any sort of screening would be required. The exterior pole-mounted light fixtures in the DPW development site are proposed at a 30-foot mounting height. The maximum allowed is 25 feet, so that would need to be adjusted. And there are some outstanding technical issues that the village's consulting engineer has identified that need to be addressed prior to commencing construction and issuing any permits. Staff recommendation is to approve the 2 rezonings, rezoning the 40-acre DPW parcel from A1 agricultural to I1 institutional, and to rezone the 38-acre Kraus parcel from A1 agricultural to M1 limited industrial. Staff recommendation on the site development and building plans is to approve the plans subject to 7 conditions included in the staff report. And finally, the staff recommendation with regard to the conditional use permit is to approve that permit to allow encroachment in the 25-foot setback as proposed, subject to 2 conditions. With that, we can go to public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll open this public hearing by hereby stating, a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on the following date of Monday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following applications for a rezoning property A from the A1 Agricultural District to the I Industrial District pursuant to section 17.26 of the Village Zoning Code, and a conditional use permit to encroach into the 25-foot wetland setback area pursuant to section 24.04, subsection 3, subparagraph C5, I guess, of the Shoreland Wetland Zoning Code on a portion of the property. We also have a rezoning application for property B from the A1 Agricultural District to the M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District pursuant to section 17.33 of the Village Zoning Code, and for a 2-lot certified survey map. The applicant is the Village of Germantown property owner and agent for Kathleen Kraus, who is also listed as a property owner. Property A is addressed at North 104, North 12703, Donges Bay Road, and property B is addressed as North 104, West 12667, Donges Bay Road. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning applications, the conditional use permit, or on property A or property B?
My name is Patricia Gott, and I live at 10538 North Council Hills Drive. This is the subdivision just across from Mr. Colway's farm that you're talking about. I know that I'm just one small voice, and I live in Osaki County, but we have suffered through the, what I call the Menominee Fall Alps. Garbage trucks galore, shooting ranges, and now you're proposing all of this. Do you know what the traffic is on Wasaki Road? It's like a freeway. And a lot of it is heavy-duty trucks. And I'm really filled up to here with it, and I'm shocked that people in my subdivision aren't here along with me. I'm the only small voice protesting, and I do protest. It won't do any good. I know nobody's going to listen to me, but I wanted to have my say.
Okay, appreciate you coming forward. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning applications or the conditional use permit?
Yes, this is Luke Korth. Sorry, on the online here.
That's fine.
Sorry, I'm unable to actually make it into the site today. I ended up coming down with a cold, and I'm quarantining at home because of that. But before then, I live at 12122 West Shawnee Pass, in the same subdivision of Council Hills. And I have a lot of concerns with this plan. Some that you don't have listed about traffic, dealing with any of the traffic that's going to be increased on Wasaki Road and Donjas Bay. I didn't see anything in the plans for doing anything with the intersection in that area. There's going to be a lot of light pollution that's caused by this over there. Relocating to this area is really going to affect our subdivision immensely. I turned in a document earlier today. Unfortunately, I was only able to get 20 signatures on there, but it is almost everyone in our subdivision that we were able to meet with. I wasn't able to make any other people today in Germantown or anything like that due to having to quarantine myself. But a lot of issues, I guess, that, a lot of the noise from the trucks, relocating everything to the area. Yeah, we already get a lot of road noise, from the area that, our neighbor was just talking about as well. The hours of operation that you're gonna have the trucks over there, all the beeping sounds that you're gonna have from backing up, going into the service space, out of the service space. And also filling in the wetland, some concern with that. I know you have the retention ponds. I guess I don't know if you have plans for if they overflow, or they're gonna overflow into the wetlands. We just got 5 inches of rain in the last day. Could your retention pond handle that? Or is it gonna overflow into the wetland? There's just a lot of, I feel like there's enough other areas that this could be located to in northern Washington County or some other location that would not be as close to as many residents.
Okay, thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward that is in our audience or joining us online to speak for or against the rezoning applications or the conditional use permit? Anyone else to come forward, speak for or against? I will need you to come. I need you to come to the microphone, or somebody will call me and say they couldn't hear you.
Just want to bring up the subject that there is supposed to be an old cemetery on that property. I don't know if that's true. Just wanted to say that.
Okay, I appreciate the information. Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application or the conditional use permit? All right, then this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning of the 40-acre DPW parcel from A1 agricultural to institutional, and rezone the 38-acre Krause parcel from A1 agricultural to M1 limited industrial.
Motion made and seconded. You're taking both A and B together.
No, that's just the first one. It's rezoning 1 and 2. I'm not doing all 3 of the approvals at one time.
No, but you're doing property A and property B on the rezoning portion.
Yes.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow the encroachment of development into portions of the 25-foot wetland setback on the DPW parcel pursuant to section 2404 of the Shoreland Wetland Zoning Code, subject to the two conditions as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Leshewski.
Director Retzloff, I don't, the village has not yet prepared its final wetland setback plan. What did, well, it's not finalized. What does that kind of look like in concept? What are we proposing here?
Well, actually, since the staff report was prepared, we did get more information finalizing our report. And is, as I indicated, that our intention is to compensate almost twice as much as the encroachment into the wetland setback area by providing, let's call it wetland-friendly vegetation plantings around the remaining portions of the wetlands on the site to further buffer and filter runoff and protect those wetland areas from development around it in the DPW site.
So is that like bushes, grasses, trees?
Grasses, typically grasses.
Grass, like kind of like a wetlands prairie?
The final seed mix hasn't been determined. I think it's subject to soil properties and conditions and also what the intended use with regard to the bioretention area is, but it's going to be a grass planting of some sort.
And does that include a maintenance plan?
We will maintain the site, the village will. I didn't see a need to include the maintenance requirement in the conditional use permit at this point. Since it's the village's property and we'll be maintaining the site as we go forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Further discussion for the conditional use permit? Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
I will make a motion to approve, whoops, I just lost it here, hold on. Computers. Motion to approve the site development and building plans for development of the DPW facility proposed by the Village of Germantown, including a 127,000 square foot industrial building and associated parking, internal driveways, stormwater management, road and water and sanitary sewer improvements subject to the 7 conditions. Is that what the number is? Yes, 7 conditions as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Mr. Shadid.
Jeff, it seems like to me when we first talked about the DPW building, had a presentation and talked about traffic management, there was going to be some studies made, or just since that's been brought up, where do we stand on that? Or are we going to do anything further? Had be traffic along Donges Bay on the north side of this, that intersection there with Wasaki Road. I quite frequently drive to Mequon on that road on Donges Bay, and that intersection is, personally, that's terrible. I mean, there's a lot of times there's a 4-way stop, you stop there and somebody blows through it. I don't know whether it's just bad habits or difficult to see, but I don't like that area traffic wise personally. So I can understand the comments from a couple citizens here.
Yeah, we had some preliminary traffic information that was pulled together by our consulting engineer on the project, Grafe. Mike, I don't know, do you have your traffic person or information available? Yeah, we didn't have a full-blown traffic impact assessment done for the site, knowing that we were going to be widening Donges Bay Road to accommodate additional traffic and improve the road conditions in front of the site west of Wasaki.
Well, I mean, I'm not inclined to vote against the proposal here, but I just want to kind of make sure that's being considered. So it sounds like it is.
It is, and the preliminary information did not indicate the need for any widening at the intersection. I think it's subject to, frankly, what additional traffic may be generated ultimately from the uses on the TID 9 industrial site.
No.
And so we'll take a closer look at cumulative traffic as part of that review, development review.
So it is on the planning list though.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are making improvements, as I mentioned, to Donjas Bay, as well as the new cul-de-sac that's proposed in the intersection there.
Sounds fine to me. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Now, this is a positive recommendation to the village board. It will go before the village board for final approval. What is the proposed date for when this will come up on a village board agenda?
Likely the first meeting in October. I believe that's the 3rd.
Okay. So there is opportunity for public input at the 3rd as well, when the village board considers this for approval. Okay, then we'll go on to our next item under new business. Meng Tao and Chanlanda Sayanyakan, property owners of 18.62 acres located at 1204 Pioneer Road in Jackson. This is an extraterritorial certified survey map plat review to reconfigure parcels. To give us more information, background on this new business item, again, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, the proposal concerns a property in the town of Jackson, just on the north side of Pioneer Road. The village exercises its extraterritorial plat authority within 1,000 feet of our borders. This particular property and land division falls within that area and therefore is subject to our review and approval. The property owner is interested in combining 3 parcels and redividing into 2 for purposes of creating 1 additional home site. As shown on the screen, the property includes, or the proposal includes, the creation of Lot 1, a 5-acre site on the south that would include the existing dwelling and buildings, and Lot 2, a 13-acre site to the north. That would be for a future development site. Soil tests for Lot 2 have been completed already and indicate that the site can support an on-site septic system. The village engineer has identified a couple of technical comments in a September 7th review memo that will need to be made prior to recording the CSM. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the 2-lot certified survey map subject to 1 condition.
Commissioners?
Make a motion to approve the 2-lot certified survey map land division of the 18.8 acre parcel owned by the applicants located off Pioneer Road in the town of Jackson, subject to the 1 condition.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Any questions? Can you come to the microphone, please?
Do I have to come back?
If you have a hard copy.
I did provide it, I believe.
Okay. Once the final technical corrections are made to the CSM, you can bring a revised hard copy for signatures to the village.
Okay.
There's some minor changes that'll need to be made.
So how long do I have to wait?
It will be frankly subject to how long it takes your engineer or surveyor to turn around the changes and submit those for signatures to the village clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Shouldn't take very long.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tao, for coming tonight. Next item under new business is item F, Sinorama agent for Broadstone PCI Wisconsin LLC, property owner of Rosti, formerly Plastic Components, Inc., located at North 116 West 18271 Morse Drive and North 118 West 18845 Bunsen Drive, a sign review application. Give us some more information on this new business item. We'll turn the meeting over to our Associate Planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. So Sinorama agent for Rosti, which, as you stated, was previously Plastic Components Incorporated, is requesting approval for 2 new wall signs at their property on Bunsen Drive and 1 new wall sign for their property on Morse Drive. Both properties are located within the Germantown Industrial District. So the first proposed sign is a 8 by 12 or 96 square foot non-illuminated illuminate composite sign with digital printing mounted flush to the east facing facade, which is Maple Road. And there's also on that same building, there's a 32 square foot similar sign of the same illuminate composite with digital printing to be mounted flush to the north-facing facade on Bunsen Drive. And then finally, the third wall sign is for the property on Morse Drive, and that would be approximately 16 square feet, illuminated composite sign with digital printing on the north-facing facade of the building. I will note that you can anticipate some monument signs from this company also coming back before you in the upcoming months. So staff's recommendation is to approve the proposed wall signs for Rosti located on Bunsen Drive and Morse Drive as proposed.
Commissioners?
Make a motion to approve the proposed wall sign as presented.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? The only question I have, all 3 will be lit? Not lit.
They will not be illuminated.
Okay. thank
Sorry,
you.
that was not
No,
clear.
that's fine. Further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is new business item G, Adam Conitzer, agent for Gale Food and Beverage and AGNL Dairy LLC, property owner located at North 116 West 15970 Main Street, sign and building design review. Give us more information on this new business item. We'll turn the meeting over to Associate Planner Zant.
Thank you. So the site location is proposed for the northeast corner of Main Street and Church Street. What we have before you is a concept that was approved back in 2019 as part of the Plan Development District proposed as part of the expansion project that was approved. So there's an image on the existing silo that's been constructed in the northeast corner of the Main Street and Church Street intersection. And although it was conceptual at that time, the image was a single historical image of the Gale Foods building. Since that time, the design has changed, and now it includes a collage of pictures that include historical images as previously included, images of employees and other people, and then images of product. Gale Foods is also proposing to the addition of their logo, and then since 1896, in writing to be added to the silo wrap. These areas will be approximately 50 square feet of the overall nearly 1,400 square foot vinyl wrap. So we kind of broke this up into 2 components. One would be the wall sign component, which would be essentially the logo and the writing. And staff recommends approval of those components. But because of the difference in the proposed wrap, the conceptual, I guess, the difference in the graphic, we wanted to bring back the wrap to you for approval to make sure that it still meets the general character of what was approved back in 2019. So this is what's currently proposed. They're proposing now, and again, what was approved as a concept back in 2019.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
table, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the proposed wall sign for Gale Food and Beverage in the southwest corner of the building located on Main Street as proposed.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Trustee Baum?
I really don't like it.
Could be
I
better.
can't, I can't say that. The original proposal was classic and traditional and was very clear and easy to read. The new sign is very difficult for me to read. There's too much going on with it. There's too many things happening. It's going to distract from people driving down the road. They're going to be looking at it and what's that image? What's that image? What's that image? Bam. Into a car, into a person, into something. I think it is just too much illustration for that intersection, for being right at an intersection. I would prefer to go back to the original proposal and the classic historical presentation of the building as originally presented.
Further discussion? Mr. Leshewski?
I'd echo that. The new proposal to me reminds me of one of those telephone poles you see downtown somewhere, and there was 16 signs on it. My dog was lost and this, and they're all faded and kind of, it's just too much going on. I love the single historical image. It's clean, it's dark, it just kind of like shows the history of that building with the sign up there. I really like that.
Further discussion? Mr. Shadid?
So I just wanted to add my agreement. I also didn't like the colors in the new proposal. It just jumped out more than I'd like to see it. I like the proposal we did first.
I have a question. So with the logo up there, does that contribute to their sign presence? As far as part of their square foot allowance?
Yeah, we sort of broke it into the logo being a sign, which can be approved as a sign, and that the balance of the wrap is more of an architectural feature. Because we didn't want to treat it as all signage because the total area far and exceeds what would be allowed under the code. And it's more of a mural than it is a sign per se, although arguably the product, was kind of a marketing-ish thing. But I would say this, we do have some representatives from Gale Foods who are sitting here and patiently, and I'm sure might want to jump in and provide some feedback.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Conitzer with Gale Foods. As we certainly did the approval of the expansion, when we went through and did the original rendering, I think we were pretty clear up front that image probably wasn't going to be the final image. So just in general, do you guys, would it still be okay to look at a different image other than what was the Milwaukee plan? So, that's another part of the original image that was used in the rendering was part of the Milwaukee plant. So we were actually trying to, again, bring this back a little bit more towards the Germantown history and the history of the Gale facility and the company itself. So just as a general question, is the original image something that we have to stick with, or can we actually still use a different image?
Trustee Baum?
My comment would be, I'm not necessarily, you have to use this image, the one that's on the screen currently. I don't necessarily have to have that image, but I believe a heavy, numerous collage of multiple images is too distracting on that corner. So a couple, maybe 3 images, but not 50 different images. I think that intersection, people are going to look at this. People are going to try and see what's on there. With 50 images, I'm spending too much time looking at this. With a couple of images, I'm gonna see it as I pass by. I'll look at it and I'll get a glimpse of one, then two, then three, but I think you have to minimize the number of images. I prefer the classic building image is fabulous to me. It shows a better building, a nicer building. The modern day product there's some images of modern day product on there that's less appealing to me. The historic photos really harken better to me than the modern day photos. You know, if you were to take this truck at the bottom, I like that picture of the truck. If you were to take to the left of that in the bottom corner, I don't know if that guy's working on a machine that's filling cheese or what, but I like those classic images. And I think for our Main Street area, classical images are better than contemporary images.
And I can understand why this image comes forward, because it kind of shows the people that built the company and the history of those past employees and past leaders that were within that company. So that part, I can understand the concept, but I think it is a little busy and in regards to what was proposed. And again, it doesn't have to be that exact image, but I remember some of the discussions that came forward when we were talking about the whole concept plan for that portion that got built out there. And part of this was to be a place where people could sit down and relax and maybe take a selfie of themselves with the image behind them. And I think they're more apt to do it on a historical type of image than they would on a collage.
Okay, understood. My name is Kathy Pettick. I'm the Director of Marketing at Gale Foods. So the original concept that you saw at the beginning, to me, being with the company 7 years, is a little misleading because it talks about ice cream, it talks about evaporated milk, which are not products we make. It's also the old logo, which is the cursive G. We don't go by Gale's anymore. That's actually our cheese sauce brand name. We're Gale Food and Beverage. So what I tried to incorporate in the new design was a collage of our history, 125 years that we've been in business in Germantown. So I tried to incorporate the history of the Gale family, the original truck, the original building in Milwaukee, but then also incorporated the people of today, the diversity that we have today. So I tried to incorporate all of that into this to have people feel proud that we've been here for 125 years. I understand your concern that it's a lot of images. I would like to come back with a couple other concepts because I do think it's important as an employee of Gale Food and Beverage to show where we are today. When I moved here and I was looking for a house, nobody knew who Gale Foods was. It was crazy for me because I'm like, what kind of company am I coming to? You know, where am I moving? For me, we're not just a cheese sauce company, and that's why we added beverage to the end of our name. We also make nutritional shakes. We make pediatric shakes. We make almond milk. We make a whole bunch of different products now, and that's what I was trying to incorporate in the new mural. When I walk into US Bank in Menominee Falls / Germantown, and you see the mural on the sides of the building as you walk in, that's history. That's the emotional part of working at a company, and that's what I was trying to incorporate here.
Anything else, commissioners? Any other input?
If I could add one thing, going back to what the original picture looked like, I think for me, what stands out on that is the color palette more. It's less busy and the colors are more vibrant. It's right. And I know nothing about vinyl graphics, but I feel like that would weather better sitting in the sun, that, I don't know if that's a thing or not, but for whatever reason, that one just appears better to me and less busy.
So we'd be open to some additional examples as she mentioned.
Yeah, I think so. Just less pixelated.
Mr. Shadid.
I think you hit a home run with that first sign though, as far as how much content you had. Now, maybe your wording's off. I can understand that. But it's striking, yet it's not so busy that I'm trying to figure out while I'm driving like 20 miles an hour. That's all the faster I drive down there. Down that street, to see, I miss 3/4 of the sign anyway. So why not just have something that jumps out? So I'm not stuck personally with exactly what you have on there. Just that concept seems better.
Okay, we need a motion for what type of action you'd like to see.
Motion was to approve as presented, because I cannot make a motion.
But you can make a motion to either table or postpone until other images are brought forward for our consideration.
Which one, we don't need to talk about it anymore, so I will table it until, how much time do you need? Month? Next month? The month after? Next month? I'll table it until our next meeting on the first meeting in October,
The 10th,
October 10th.
okay?
That's my
Motion made
motion.
to table. Motion made and seconded. No discussion on the motion to table. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming tonight. Does anyone have any announcements to make? No announcements, so it takes care of all items on tonight's agenda. So we will adjourn. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.
Very so.
We're not, no. See, we're not doing a plan. Not blending water.